Hey guys, David Swor here with DJ Cox, back again for another episode of Frenemies. And DJ, we're going to talk about the World Champion 2019 Washington Nationals. So pretty crazy year for them, man. Why don't you tell us what all happened in 2019?
Yeah, this is gonna take a little while because this is a lot of fun. Unlike the Mariners, who we just did, this is this is a team that's really intriguing, obviously, because they are the defending champs going into the 2020 season. So going into the 2019 season, man, these guys had a tough off season as far as losing one of the best players in the world, and Bryce Harper, um, which you kind of thought, man, they just lost Bryce Harper. What are they gonna do? Well, we found out what they were gonna do. So it's amazing to me. I still can't get over how you lose a player to his caliber to free agency, and then you go on to win it without him. Which Bryce Harper, I don't care what he says, that has to hurt a little bit. So that's crazy that that happened. They were 93 and 69. They didn't win the division, which you got to remember they were a wild card team, man.
Mm-hmm.
The Braves won that division, and they snuck in and had a crazy 1-0 win over the Brewers, which that wasn't won the series 1-0, I should say, won the game barely by one run as well. Just a crazy game that was. They came from behind and almost lost that game, which they really should have lost that game. If Christian Yelich was playing, they probably would have lost that game, and they never would have won it all. So they won a series over the Dodgers 3-2, which is very hard to do. They swept the Cardinals, and then they won 4-3 over the Astros. So, man, what a year! First in team history when you include the Expos. Which here's something I got for you too. I want to talk about this a little bit. Now I'll continue with the recap after you're done. But David, how do you feel about this? So I was thinking about this today, and the Washington Nationals are a franchise, and they connect to the Montreal Expos still. How do you feel
Yeah.
about a franchise doing that when they completely change cities, change the name? Do you think that they should be an expansion team? Do you think they should keep the old records of the Expos too? How do you kind of feel about that? Because Washington used to have a team, the Senators, back in the day. So it makes all this kind of crazy. So what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, it does make it crazy. I actually thought about that too. It's funny that you mentioned that because when I was going through the trivia questions, obviously it talked about a lot of stuff that happened in Montreal. And I'm gonna be honest, at first I hated it, but I actually like it. I like that they're keeping that history together. I like that the Nationals aren't a quote unquote completely new team. They have a little bit of history to look back on. Um, I think it was the greatest thing that MLB probably did in my lifetime was moving that team from Montreal to Washington. Although Montreal, they had some history there. It was obvious that the fans just weren't going to show. They had a terrible stadium, and moving it to Washington was a great move. But I don't really mind it that they kept the records and all that. What do you think?
It's hard, man. I don't know. I go back and forth on this one. I really do. It's tough to, when a franchise completely changes names and cities, and they keep like the NBA, the Seattle SuperSonics are now the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're kind of, it's just weird in some senses, but I get it. Like you said, you can't, I don't know. I mean, if you ask who's the all-time Washington Nationals hits leader, and you say somebody like Vladimir Guerrero and Andre Dawson, you're going to be like, what the heck? What are you talking about? But you got to say Nationals/Expos to make that make sense. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. But like you said, what else are you going to do with that history, I guess? It's the same team moving. It's hard. It's kind of weird from that perspective. But I guess it makes a little sense. But it's definitely different. So back to 2019. So they got past the first round for the first time in franchise history, too. They'd never won a playoff series, so that's pretty cool, too. And they won the whole thing. Another former Cub is a manager, Davey Martinez. When you come from a great franchise like the Cubs, that's why there's so many. I mean, we just had one in the Mariners and Scott Service. These guys are geniuses, man. You play for the Cubs, you automatically become smart, and you know what the game's all about. So they get hired. You played for the Cubs, let's hire you. You're the man. So that's why it
I
happens
think
a
they'll
lot.
look at it and say, hey, guys, this is what this team did to lose all these years, and we just have to not do that. I think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is that how it works? Yeah, whatever. So his first year as a manager, he was one of Madden's disciples forever. He wins it all. They had the big three: Strasburg, Scherzer, and Corbin. Anibal Sanchez, you got to throw in there as fourth guy. He was awesome in the playoffs. Terrible bullpen all year long. So Martinez uses Corbin out of the pen in the playoffs. Genius move, ended up working out really good for them. Juan Soto debuts with 110 ribbies. Rendon comes out with 126 ribbies. Gomes and Suzuki combined for 105 ribbies from the catcher spot. So they had a lot of offense, a lot of pop to go with a four-headed pitching monster. Let's be honest, you got to throw Sanchez in there. The way he pitched in the playoffs was superb. Allowed them to win it with Corbin in the pen, which got to tip your cap to Sanchez. So outstanding season. What do you got for him?
Yeah, so I think it's crazy. Washington started out 19-31, were playing terrible, and then finished up 74-38. And they did all that while not really, other than having great starting pitching, everything else was, well, I mean, their bullpen was awful. Their bullpen was last in the league, and even their hitting, they were seventh in the league in batting. Like you said, they lost Harper, but they had big years out of Soto and, like you said, Rendon. And, man, let's talk about Howie Kendrick here for a minute, man. He's an unsung hero. That dude can hit. And I thought it was crazy. So I was looking at their 2019 offseason, this past offseason, and they re-signed him for only $6 million. And I'm going to be honest, DJ, like Howie Kendrick is kind of DJ LeMahieu light, right? I mean, he's definitely not as good as DJ LeMahieu, but he's really not that far behind, is he?
Well, he hit 344 last year and had, about 60-something ribbies and a huge home run in the playoffs, too, he had. And he showed up. He was clutch, man. And, yeah, that guy had a great year. He really did. He was a hitter. And I think 2-3 years back, he blew his Achilles out, and he came back from that, too, and came and had an awesome season. So, yeah, definitely props to Kendrick. He was a big part of that team. And one of those guys that really went under the radar that shouldn't have because he hit so well. He had the best average on the team when you really think about it. I mean, nobody hit higher than he did on that team. So, phenomenal hitting year for him and a big reason they won it all.
Yeah, man. And I think, man, Mike Rizzo, he must have some dirt on Howie Kendrick or something. 1 year, $6 million for Howie Kendrick. That just blew. I mean, I know he's older.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't really have a position he excels at, but he can play lots of positions. I've seen him in left field. I've seen him at second. I've seen him at first. So, man, props to Mike Rizzo for being able to get him to come back after hitting 344 for $6 million. I mean, $6 million buys you nothing in Major League Baseball anymore on a one-year deal. So, props to him. And so let's talk a little bit about the offseason, DJ. Who were the big pickups?
So we've got Starlin Castro, Eric Thames, Josh Harrison, Ryan Harper, Will Harris, and Wellington Castillo. Who's your boy?
Well, best pickup would have to be Will Harris, right? I mean, 150 ERA last year. They need help in the pen. They really didn't do anything else to help the pen, which is kind of crazy. I think their ERA in the pen last year was 5.68. They did re-sign Daniel Hudson. And so my biggest pickup will be Will Harris. But, DJ, let's talk about your boy Starlin Castro on his way to 3,000 hits. What do you think about that dude?
Listen, I honestly was with you last year when we were talking about him and how he would probably sign with the Tigers or the Pirates and play second for them and just be like their second baseman for the next 4 or 5 years and collect his hits that he does every season and get close to 3,000 hits, which this guy's still young, man. Holy smokes. He's still got a legit shot at doing this thing. He's got to get
30 years old.
30 years old. It seems like he's been playing forever. And I probably came up as a 19 or 20-year-old, which is why it seems that way. But with the Cubs, and man, I'm telling you, David, this guy was a great pickup for them and my favorite by far of the offseason. Last year, he had 22 bombs with 86 ribbies. That's a lot of ribbies for Starlin Castro, man. What a season he had. He hit 272, so he hit the ball well, man. I heard an interesting stat last night, David. The average MLB average for hitters now is 250, which is
Wow. That's
terrible.
awful.
I would have thought it was higher. And they're saying it's 230 this year so far, which is even crazier. But when you hear like 270, you don't think, that's all right, but it's well above average. 250 is one average, and that's 1 out of 4, obviously. And so he's above average as far as a hitter goes. And what an outstanding RBI year from him. And if that's your second baseman getting 86 ribbies, and you just signed him and allowed Kendrick to maybe DH a little more and be that little pocket knife if you need him, plug him in here defensively here and there. And, I think that was a great signing by the Nats.
Yeah, so they signed him for 2 years. That's what's interesting to me. So when you thought about Starlin Castro going to the Marlins, you kind of thought, well, he's just trying to find his place. And he had a good year last year, but you wouldn't have thought he would have been the second baseman for the Nationals following a World Series championship. I mean, he doesn't strike you as a World Series guy, but listen, the guy for real has a legitimate shot at 3,000 hits. Legitimate shot. So, DJ, if he gets him, what are you doing with his Hall of Fame candidacy? He's not had 10 dominant years.
Well, if you get 3,000 hits, the longevity that you got to get to get that, there's no way you keep him out. I mean, I'm just being honest. This guy is 11 years in, and if he gets another 10 in, which he'd be lucky to get to 40, let's be honest, but let's say he gets another 10 in, he's right now halfway through his career. He's already halfway to 3,000. He's 1631 in with hits. And, if he could just consistently, his average season is 178, which is pretty studly. Now, that's close to 200 as far as your average goes. So I don't think he's going to get there, but I think it's very intriguing to watch because he's got a shot. I think he'll end up falling a little short. But he'll have a case, man. He really will, because he's a second baseman, David. So we got to bring that into play too. When you look at the numbers as far as what position he plays, it's gonna be very interesting, man. It really is. It's gonna be a fun talk in the next 20 years.
And what I was reading today, Davey Martinez loves him. Right now he's hitting 357, which that's a small sample size, but props to you, Starlin Castro. I mean, I don't want to say I thought you were done, but definitely heading the wrong direction, and man, turned it around. So, DJ, let's talk about the losses. Who all did they lose this year? We know the big one.
Yeah, Matt Adams, Gerardo Parra. I'm sorry. He, the baby shark guy for the team. He'd come in and get them going a little bit. So he's a little bit of a loss, no doubt. He played well last year, but it's Matt Adams, Parra, and Anthony Rendon. Rendon's a tough loss. And David, let's be honest here. This is where I get a little dicey with this team. You won it all without Bryce Harper last year, which is unbelievable to me. But now in the last 2 years, you've lost Harper and Rendon. Ooh.
Yeah.
Those are gut shots, man. Those are two of the better players in the game. And you lost, two of them in the last 2 years. And I don't know, man. You got the team still to do this. I still believe that, but you took a huge shot there. And you got Castro, but he's not Rendon, let's be honest. So they took a little bit of a blow offensively, no doubt. I mean, this guy is MVP candidate last year.
Yeah.
Tough loss, man. It really is. It'll be interesting to see how they can rebound from this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I guess Carter Kieboom is he's platooning right now with Asdrubal Cabrera, which Asdrubal Cabrera, man, he had a great end of the year last year with Washington. But I'm like you, man. I just don't see Kieboom replacing Anthony Rendon. They're hitting last year. it was good, but not great to begin with. So I don't know if they're planning on more production, maybe from Juan Soto as he gets older, or Victor Robles, or Trey Turner. I mean, they got some guys. I mean, but yeah, you're losing one of the top players in the game, great on defense as well. And so I don't know how you replace that either. But having said that, if I looked at the roster last year, I wouldn't have thought that was a World Series team, DJ. I mean, they had some nice pieces, but they had some guys kind of come out of nowhere, like Asdrubal Cabrera wasn't hitting at all. He gets traded over, and I think he hit 340 down the stretch for Washington. And they were just red hot when they got into the playoffs. I think they'd won 9 out of 10. If you'll remember, the Brewers were nipping at them there at the end, and they just kind of turned it on, and it carried over. And it seems like Rizzo's just going with pitching wins championships. I mean, he's throwing the money out. They gave a big contract to Strasburg, so now they got Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin all signed long-term. And, the Nationals got a lot of money. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go in with Rendon, but maybe they want to stay under that luxury tax threshold. But, DJ, having said all that, what do you think best case scenario for the Nationals is this year?
Real quick, Dave, before I go into that, do you know much about Carter Kieboom? What a cool baseball name, by the way, Kieboom. Yeah. That's awesome. But I meant to read a little bit more up on him today, and I forgot. I'm intrigued by him. Is he going to be used in a utility role? Is he going to be a good player? I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know much about him, so I'm kind of intrigued by this. What's up with him?
So everything I've read on him has been real positive, man. I mean, he's their top prospect. They brought him up last year. He kind of was in over his head, I think. If I'm not mistaken, he really is a shortstop, second base type. He's playing third, kind of just out of need. And it seems like they're just kind of easing him in, which, if I'm being honest, I like that approach. Asdrubal Cabrera can hit. He's better from one side than is the other, and Kieboom happens to be the one he's not on the side that he's not good from. And so I like that. That seems to be the wave of the future. A lot of these managers are liking these platoons and moving guys around. And so I really can't blame the Nationals for going with Kieboom. I just would have thought they would have put him at second and tried to keep Rendon personally. But he looks like he's going to be a good player, man. I don't know about superstar caliber, but a real solid player from what I've read.
So is he kind of along the lines of Kyle Tucker in Houston, where he's going to kind of like bringing him along, and when his time comes, he'll be in there? Because, that's where I kind of went with that a little bit. Because I don't think he's better than any of those guys in the infield with the Nationals got right now. They're all studs. So you kind of have him as your main backup for the infield and fill in where you need to. But he's an intriguing player. I'm thinking they're excited about him. So you were asking about strengths, I believe, right? So it's the rotation. It still is. Until these guys show the signs of coming down from the clouds, Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and Sanchez, man.
Yeah.
That is awesome. It really is. And these guys, like you said, are locked up for a long time. And you just think, man, Scherzer's just a dog, man. And he just is what he is. He's an outstanding player, one of the best in the game. But you seem to always think that Strasburg is going to lose it, man, and he never does. He had the bad year with his arm. But man, this guy is just consistently firing it out there, and they got a long contract, so they believe that he's going to keep going, and he just is unbelievable to me, because I thought, honestly, to be honest with you, we'd get about 5 or 6 good years out of him, and he'd fall apart, and he wouldn't, it's not going to be that way with him. He's going to be there for a long time. He's having a great career. By the time it's all said and done, you've probably got 2 Hall of Fame pitchers there. He's going to make a case, no doubt. Scherzer is a no-brainer, but Strasburg's going to be intriguing to see if he can sneak in there. I'm not sure, but that rotation is sick, and I'm definitely going with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. You can't go against that. And let's talk about Strasburg a little bit. So, because Strasburg is divisive is not the word, but he's had trouble staying healthy. He's 32 years old. It's hard to believe he's that old. 112 wins. He's consistent when he pitches. The problem is he, before last year, 4 straight years with less than 30 starts. He just has trouble staying on the field. 18 wins last year, 10 the year before, 15 the year before, 15 the year before, 11 and 14. I think Hall of Fame for him at this point looks like a stretch. He's a very nice pitcher. He just has trouble putting it all together. But, man, yeah, their rotation is awesome. Patrick Corbin, what a great pickup for them. He kind of faded a little bit down the stretch, but like you said, they ended up putting him in the bullpen. Some for that World Series run. It worked out like a charm. Anibal Sanchez, I think he has 9 lives. I looked up his career today. I don't have those in front of me, but he's had a nice career other than a couple really bad years in Detroit. And so, yeah, and even Austin Voth, man, he came kind of last year, ended the season strong. So far this year, I think he's only had 2 starts, but pitched well both starts. And so he seems to be a pretty adequate number 5. And so it's hard to think of anybody that has a better rotation than Washington this year.
Yeah, Vaught's the guy I'm a little intrigued by. I don't know hardly much about him, I'll be honest with you. I want to see one of his starts. I really do. I hope to catch him when he's pitching next because I really want to see what he's got as a 5th guy there, just to see what he's, like I said, what he's got. I think he's intriguing too. And like you said, his first couple starts, not so bad. So if he's your 5th guy, like I said, I don't know much about him. I'm intrigued. I want to see what he's got as well. So very cool, man.
Yep. So what's the biggest weakness, DJ?
It's the bullpen, David, and it was the bullpen last year, like you said. And Martinez tipped the cap because he made it work with the little that he had. This was a problem going into 2019, and to be honest with you, they just kind of somehow survived it with a great offense and outstanding starting pitching and good managing. Really, I mean, terrible is a good word to describe it. I really don't know if there's too many bullpens that are worse. I mean, they're obviously, among contenders, I should say, because there's some bottom feeders down there that are awful in the bullpen. But among teams that are going to be in the playoffs, this is probably towards the bottom, if not the bottom bullpen in the game. And it's tough. Sean Doolittle, I'm not a fan of him at all in a lot of ways. Daniel Hudson as your closer is okay. I mean, I don't really know. I'm not too big on him. Tanner Rainey, Javi Guerra, Ryan Harper, Sam Freeman, just not impressed, man. Really not. I looked at their numbers. They're not that great. It's rough down there in the pen, man. It's going to be ugly. And if you don't got the pen to do this, then you're in some trouble. And they've got to find a way to overcome it yet again this year, I believe, if they're going to make it work. And be interesting to see what they do because I'm not a fan at all.
No, I'm not either. Like I said, 5.68 ERA last year, worst in the league out of the bullpen. And you think about that's worse than the Mariners bullpen. That's worse than the Orioles bullpen. Think of all the bullpens that we've talked about through this podcast, and this one was worse. They did pick up Will Harris, and he's a good reliever. But they needed more than one, man. I mean, last year they were running Fernando Rodney out there and some other guys. And I don't know, man. I think it's slightly better. They did pick up some guys, but still not what you would consider. Every playoff team out there for the last few years has had a lockdown bullpen. Your starter only needed to go 5 innings, and Washington's kind of went the other way with it. They're loaded on the rotation. They're going to give you 7 good innings and just have to figure it out in the end. They don't really have a designated closer, so I would like to have seen them, just think about what a closer could do for them. I mean, just a closer, a lockdown closer from somewhere. So, I mean, it's something to watch definitely at the trade deadline if they're still in it. And to be honest with you, DJ, again, we're a couple weeks in. They're in 4th place right now. And the Braves are kind of burying them. So let's talk a little bit here. What's the best case scenario for the Nationals?
So, not going to lie to you, I still think they're the favorite. I know we're getting a little pushback as far as starting this a little later, but going into this, I'm thinking they're the favorite. I really was with the 4 studs that they got. But I did have the Braves like right there with them. That's going to be a great race. It really is between the two. And I still, I know they're off to a bad start, but I think they're going to rebound and they're going to turn this around and make the playoffs for sure. But I still believe they can win this division. I do not believe that they will win it all. I just think it's way too hard to win back-to-back titles in baseball, especially. It's almost unheard of, really, to be honest with you anymore. I mean, I can't even tell you who the last team to do that was, and it's nuts, and it's hard to do, and I don't think they're going to do it. I really think that bullpen is going to catch up with them towards the end here. Something isn't going to work out as far as that goes this year. And losing Rendon just adds up to a little bit of trouble for me, and too much trouble to be in the same boat with the Yankees and the Dodgers, in my opinion. To just be up in that caliber of teams is just not kind of where they're at right now. So I think that they can win the division and make the playoffs again, but not even close to what the results in the playoffs this year.
So pre-Braves injuries, I had the Braves winning that division, and I had the Nationals second. But you could make a case for the Phillies, and before the Mets injuries, you could have made a case for the Mets. But having said all that, at this point with all the injuries, I do think the Nationals can and will win that division. That's their best case scenario. They're capable of it. But it is going to be tough. Now, I looked at the Braves rotation now after all these injuries, and all of a sudden, man, it looks pretty rough. Touki Toussaint is your number 3 starter, and you're going to have to run him out there in a short series against Patrick Corbin. You know what I mean? And so I think the best case scenario is for the Nationals. And right now, if I had to handicap it, I would say that they're the favorites for the division. But I would not have said that 2 weeks ago. I would have said it would have been the Braves. But that Soroka injury is just devastating, man, just devastating. And I think it's kind of put them behind. So DJ, what's the worst case scenario?
Well, I don't know. I'd say it's a little bit possible that one of the Phillies or the Mets jumps in this year and they miss the playoffs. It really is. It's a small chance, I think, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's possible. I do. That bullpen, like I said, is just not there, and hopefully they avoid injuries and they can stay healthy. I still do like this ball club a lot. I don't think that they're going to do that, but I do think it's possible. And you said the Braves have had a lot of crazy things happen with that rotation. Even Fulton Ellich was getting booted was kind of crazy too. I mean, he's been terrible, but he was a big part of what they were doing there too. So they're in a little trouble in their pitching, and a lot of these teams in this division, that's the problem, is their pitching is what could have been. I think is what the NL East is shaping out to be. What could have been with these rotations that these teams had. If they were all healthy, you could easily see the Nationals finishing third or fourth. And that's the worst case scenario is third. But with all that's been happening, I don't see that happening. But it's possible.
Yeah, I'm with you, DJ. So the Nationals led the league last year in blown saves, 29 blown saves. And, man, in a short season, that can get away from you quick. And so I think it's as possible that they end up in third place as it is they win the division. I definitely think it's as possible. And, the Nationals had some big seasons last year out of guys out of nowhere. I'll go back to Asdrubal Cabrera. He hit 340 down the stretch. So all it would take is for a Howie Kendrick or Asdrubal Cabrera to stumble. They've already lost Rendon. They have a terrible bullpen that they didn't improve that blew 29 saves. I think it's real possible, man, that they could end up in third place. Phillies, are trending the right direction. Again, the Braves right now, they're in first place, and although the rotation's bad, they have a great lineup. They have just as many stud hitters as anybody. Young players, they got Acuna, they got Freeman, Ozzie Albies. They've got some nice players, and so I think it's 50-50. I think it could go either way. They could win the division and go into the playoffs, or they could completely miss and be in third place.
Yep.
So
I got a question for you real quick, David.
Yeah.
So who would win in a fight, you or Eric Thames?
I think my biceps are bigger than his, actually. We forgot to talk about him. So yeah, man, that was a good pickup. Ryan Zimmerman opts out, and Thames is there waiting. And I think Thames is a little underrated. I mean, he's kind of a thumper. But yeah, I think I could take him.
I would die to see a cage fight in the octagon. UFC 223, David Swor versus Eric Thames.
I'd be like the Astros hitting coach. I'd be looking for the 4 guys to put in front of me. He is, man. That dude doesn't have a neck. He is. It's so funny to me.
Scary.
That the Brewers, again, let him get by. I mean, he signed for nothing. I mean, Mike Rizzo, I got to hand it to Mike Rizzo a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Some value picks. I think they got Thames for $4 million. They got Howie Kendrick for $6 million. They got Starlin Castro for $5 million. They got Asdrubal Cabrera for like $5 million or something, man. Those are some good guys for not much on short-term deals.
Yeah.
And you got to hand it to their scouting and stuff too. I mean, we're going to talk about their farm system here next, but they've graduated a bunch of these guys from the farm. And I know it looks thin right now, but you got to realize Robles came from the farm. Soto came from the farm. Keyboom's there. He came from the farm. Both came from the farm. And on down the list, I know I'm missing some guys. So they've graduated some guys. And they got some interesting guys in the farm too. 29th ranked farm system in the league right now out of 30 teams. So, again, that's due to a lot of graduations. So who's someone to keep an eye on the farm, DJ?
Well, I got Will Crow. Will Crow is 6'2", 232. He's a righty, and I think that they got him kind of, penciled in here. If Austin doesn't pan out there in the 5th spot, he could be a guy that could go in there actually this year, to be honest with you. He's already had his Tommy John, which that's what we like to hear with these prospects. Got out of the way. 18-15, 4.03 ERA. Not very impressive in the minors. 25 years old. He's getting a little older. Tennessee boy who went to South Carolina for college. So he's got a 92-94 fastball, which isn't crazy, but he's got an above-average changeup. His slider's good, and he's got a curveball. So he's got a repertoire. And everything I've been reading about him, they say they think that he's a future guy in this rotation. And that's saying something when you got 3 of these 5 guys locked up long term. So if they're saying he's going to end up in that 4 or 5 spot, he's got to be pretty good in this rotation. So Will Crow, man, we'll see what we got out of him.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Luis Garcia. He's their number 2 rated prospect. He plays second base, which, again, I feel like Starlin Castro, I like him and all, but I feel like he's just a placeholder, honestly, for maybe Garcia or whoever. Maybe Keyboom ends up over there. I don't know. But he is a contact guy. He's 6'2". They say he projects power. He played Double-A as a 20-year-old last year. Didn't hit that great, but they're rating him as having the best hit tool in their farm system. And a lot of times those guys with a little bit of seasoning start busting out. Already a good fielder, so he can already play the position. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. Like I say, he's their number 2 prospect behind Keyboom. And they do have a trio of pitching prospects. You talked about Crow. They also have Rutledge, who's 6'8", and got good stuff. Cavalli, they're saying that all 3 of those guys could be 2 to 3 starters, 2 to 3, a number 2 or 3 starter. And so 1 or 2 of those guys is bound to pan out. And all of them, Crow this year, they're projecting Rutledge and Cavalli for next year or possibly year after. And so while they're not heavy on a bunch of prospects, it seems like the ones that they have fit needs for them in the near future. So, again, it's interesting. I'm going to throw some props to Mike Rizzo for developing guys like Robles and Soto. And until you prove me wrong, you've developed good players. And so I'm going to trust in you a little bit.
So, David, here's a couple guys on this lineup that we haven't talked about really, but I want to give a little love to, man. I love Adam Eaton, man. I just think you got to have a guy like him in your lineup to play every day. I think he fits that role really well as far as being that guy. I mean, he's not a superstar by any means, but I think he's a guy you can win with. He plays hard. He's a hard player. I just like him a lot. What are your thoughts? And this is one of the most intriguing guys that they have in this lineup. We haven't really said too much about him yet, but What are your overall thoughts on Trey Turner? What do you think of him? Do you think he's one of the best shortstops in the game, like a lot of people think? Do you think he's a little bit below average as far as the top ones go, or what do you think of Trey Turner?
I don't think he's an elite shortstop. He's not a prospect anymore, and people need to remember that. I know he's young. I don't have his stats in front of me, but I believe this is his third year in the league. 19 home runs, I believe, last year and 19 the year before that. And that's a great guy to have at your shortstop. But, is he in the same caliber as Carlos Correa? No. And you can just go down the list. There's a ton of great shortstops now, a ton of them. And Trey Turner is a nice player, and I would say he's a star player, but I don't think he's a superstar. I think he's definitely behind several in that list. And Carlos Correa, the reason I brought his name up is he's kind of considered a second-tier shortstop now, and I don't really think Trey Turner is in his league. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. I really am. I've been waiting on Trey Turner to kind of explode, so to speak, offensively. I do think he's a great player. I'm not trying to bomb on it a little bit, but I think he's a little overrated. I really do. I just, another thing that he kind of does well is he steals bases. He's a good player. He really is. And but I just don't think, like you said, I probably can name 8 guys I'd rather have at shortstop than him, and that's pretty deep. As you think Trey Turner, and a lot of people want to put him way up there, and I don't think he's an elite shortstop in this game. I really believe I would pick 8 guys over him to be my shortstop that are playing right now. So, is he good? Yes, absolutely. Is he great? Yes. Is he super, super great? No. I know that's kind of weird to say, but in a weird way of putting it, but a lot of people think he's elite, and I don't at short. So
yeah, and using wins above replacement as a tool, it's not the be all end all. 3.4 in 16, 3 in 17, 4.1 in 18, and 3.3 19. So he's been very consistent, but that's just not elite. And anyway, really good player. Don't want to take anything away from him, but like you said, there's 7 or 8 guys you'd like to have before him for sure.
no doubt.
So, DJ, let's talk a little bit about this stadium. Have you been there?
Yes, I have actually. Nationals Park. So went a few years back, had a nice DC trip. Man, have you been to DC, David, for historical?
I have. I've been to that stadium as well.
Okay, cool. So you're gonna know where I'm going with this, and so.
Yep.
We totally destroyed DC, and by that I mean we made it count, man. We got everything you could possibly think of in as far as the monuments and all the things that you can do in DC. We totally destroyed that trip. We did a great job. The one thing I wanted to do was a White House tour, which we didn't get into, and kind of messed that up a little bit. I wanted to do that, but we didn't. Anyway, so we had an awesome trip, and of course, the many days that we were there, we had to get to the Nationals game. And I got to be honest with you, David. To me, this is one of the worst ones that I've been to. I'm not a fan at all. I think it's an absolute dump, if I'm being honest. There's no character to it whatsoever. I just am not impressed. I like it's like you said. I'm grateful that Washington has a team. I think they deserve one. But whoever designed that ballpark was very generic, just plain. I was not, like I said, I was happy to be there, and it was fun. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cool things about it. But I struggle mightily to find a ballpark that I dislike more than the one in Washington.
Yeah, so I'm going to totally agree with you on that. Now, having said that, it's been several years since I went. So we went actually, I was there with Matt Kearns for James Eden's wedding. I don't know if you remember James, he was my roommate at Temple. But we went for his wedding. And back then, you could tell that Washington just did not have a place in the city to put that field. And so they had put it right next to a cement plant. It's in an industrial area. And to get to the industrial area, you had to drive straight up through the worst part of town. I'm talking extremely, extremely sketchy. And you parked in that concrete plant's parking lot. Now, having said that, I wonder, across the street at that point, a new mall was going in. And so I wonder if they've torn down around it and kind of built up around it. And as bad as all that was, like you said, the park was just real uninspiring, man. I didn't look today. I like to get on there when we talk about stadiums and just kind of see what there is to do there. I didn't do that today, but at the time, there was zero to do there other than watch the game and eat.
Nothing.
So, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Like I said, it's obvious they just didn't have a place to put that stadium, and I'm sure they have plans around it, and maybe in the future it'll be super cool. But I was really underwhelmed by the stadium as well, especially for a new park. I mean, it's one of the newer parks now.
Yeah.
So
Not a fan.
no, I think we saw the Braves play that day, and if I remember right, we sat in right field, which was actually really cool that day because we were in the shade the whole day.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. But someone hit a home run out our way. That was a fun trip. A lot of cool stuff happened. But I'd love to go again. I need to make the National Stadium and Camden Yards a visit. I still haven't been to Camden Yards, and if you're that close, you got to go to both because my understanding is Camden Yards just not very far away at all. So, all right, DJ, all-time favorite Expo/National player.
This is where I got to put my boy Andre Dawson, man. This is easy for me. Oh, yeah, Andre Dawson, baby. He played 11 years with the Expos, which a lot of people think he was a Cub. He was only a Cub for about 6-7 years there, mainly an Expo. One of the things that you talked about earlier is that dump that the Expos had on that AstroTurf. That ruined Andre Dawson's knees. He never could run after he played there. Just a miracle that he played as long as he did, playing on that carpet all those years. Same with Vladdy Guerrero. Just all these long careers on that terrible turf that they played on. But, man, 438 bombs, 1,591 ribbies, 314 stolen bases, 279 average, 323 on base, 2,774 hits. He won both the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in his career. He had a cannon. He was known as the Hawk. He's a Hall of Famer. Growing up, he was one of the players that I admired on those Cubs team as a kid with Sandberg and Grace. You think Sandberg, Grace, Dawson. Those are the three big head guys as far as the lineup went when I was a kid. And Dawson was one of those. His first year with us, I believe he had 49 homers. What an outstanding time he had with the Cubs. I love the Hawk. By far, my favorite Expo/National is Andre Dawson.
Now, I'm going to go with another Hall of Famer. I'm going to go with Vladimir Guerrero. I know
there you go.
Angels guy, and he was with the Expos. It looks like here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, 449 career homers. His career was actually a little shorter than I remember, 16 years.
Part of that's honestly playing in Montreal. It shortened careers. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. But most people don't remember Vladimir Guerrero had years where he stole 40 bases.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think of him that way. You think of the real stiff. He had just a funky swing, and I mean it was cool in its own way, but it was definitely kind of a stiff looking swing, and I just think of him that way. But man, like you said, I think Montreal had a negative effect on him, the stadium, I mean. But I love to watch Vladimir Guerrero, and I loved those teams, man. I think about guys like Marquise Grissom and Delino DeShields, that idiot Pedro Martinez. Larry Walker, played there. You think about Gary Carter, and the Expos had a lot of great players. And again, it's kind of cool that history isn't just going to die. Someday if there's not a Nationals Museum, there probably will be. And in that Nationals Museum will probably be some stuff from the Expos that maybe would have been forgotten otherwise. And so, anyway, I love me some Vlad Guerrero.
Ooh, me too, man. That's one of my favorite guys too. I totally agree with you there. So, David, did you? Let's first of all say there's no teammates of ours were Nationals fans, not even close. So, um,
Ah,
yeah, we can get anybody for that. So, you got any trivia for me?
I do. Give me just a second here. What did I do with it? I'm going to have to remember these off the top of my head. The Nationals and slash Expos have, I believe, 4 players with their numbers retired. Who are they?
Oh wow. Um, there's 4.
Yep, there's 4.
Hmm. So Andre Dawson.
Yep.
So a lot of the guys I'm thinking of, the only thing I'm worried about is their longevity with this franchise. Oh, well, can't say that yet. I know Ryan Zimmerman's gonna be there. He really is. If you look at him, he's the franchise leader in a lot of categories. So he will get there, but not yet. Man, I don't think Vladdy was there long enough to get his retired. Did they do Vladdy?
No, and that's surprising to me. I mean, yeah, he was only there 8 years, but I'm pretty sure Vladdy went in with an Expos cap, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm kind of surprised he's not retired.
Well, my boy Tim Raines is one of them, right?
Yep.
And see, Pedro just doesn't do it for me. I don't think he was there long enough. Neither was
No.
Randy Johnson or any of those guys. I'll tell you who was an awesome player for them, and probably isn't one of them, but Jose Vidro was a dog, man. That guy could play.
Yeah, I forgot about him actually.
Whew. Him and Vladdy in the middle of that lineup. Oh man, that's tough. So maybe it is Gary Carter. Is it Carter?
Yep, Gary Carter.
Yeah, because he was there for a while. He wasn't a Met very long.
You should get this one. If you watch the Expos uh, documentary, you should get this one.
Am I missing one still?
You're still missing one. Everybody was really upset when they traded this guy. He earlier than our era.
Mm,
He was playing back in the days when they were playing in the minor league stadium or whatever it was.
yes. Oh man. Was he a black guy, David?
No.
Ooh, that threw me off then because I'm trying to think of that guy's name and I can't. Um, Man, I do not know. Then I'm gonna give up on that one.
Rusty Staub.
Rusty Staub. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that part of that documentary. It's kind of funny that
Yes, I
his
do.
number is retired because he was only there 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, so that kind of is shocking to me. But if you remember, he broke out with the Expos. Man, he had 29 and 30 homers, and that's back when hitting 30 homers was a huge accomplishment. Now everybody does. But anyway, yeah, Rusty Staub's number is retired. His jersey is retired. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's maybe a Canadian guy. No, he's from Louisiana. So I don't know how his number got retired in like 3 or 4 years, but it did.
How do you retire his number, not Vladdy then?
DJ, I got a question. I meant to ask you this a minute ago. This is completely unrelated. I kind of brought this up. Do you think so? You were talking earlier about the batting average last year being 250. Do you think the game has changed in a bad way with the rise in strikeouts and the rise in home runs and the lack of hitting?
Yes, I do. I've thought that way a long time. Um, much as I love the home run as much as the fans, um, I do have a problem with guys not being able to hit, and I hate strikeouts. So yeah, I do have a problem with that. I think what a lot of and I think I brought this up in a previous podcast, is a lot of people seem to think that strikeouts are okay from the standpoint of you're going to hit the home run to make up for it, if that makes sense. I hate it. There's far too many strikeouts. These launch angle swings are out of control, David, and I hate it. These instructors are teaching these kids the launch angle swing, and I am not a fan, David, because how many people are going to make professional baseball? Not many. So why in the world are we teaching kids how to do this is beyond me. Make contact, have a nice swing. You don't launch angle, drop your back shoulder, dip, try to just launch the ball is so stupid to me, because the barrel of your bat is in the strike zone for about this long when you swing like that. And these major league guys can get away with that. Okay, but these are elite players. You can't get away with that kind of stuff as a young kid and even a high school kid. If you hit the home run here and there and you're batting 220, no thanks, man. I'll take a guy hitting 330 any day over that kind of production and getting on base and scoring runs that way. Anytime over that kind of stuff. And I do think it's hurt the game a little bit. And, you see teams every year, it seems, breaking home run records, which is cool, but I do miss the batting averages and, getting on base like that and just having 2 or 3 guys that are big boppers. Now everybody hits bombs, so it's weird.
Yeah. It is weird. I think defensive shifts have changed the thought process on that a lot as well. I think that's why the home run has become so important, especially if you're left-handed. If you're just going to be a slapper now, or a guy that's quote unquote a doubles guy, well, half the time you're going to be grounding out to the second baseman who's playing in short right field. Yeah. And back in the day, you never saw, even on the right side. I saw the Yankees the other day play their second baseman almost behind second base instead of in that gap, between first and second. And of course, the guy hit right into it. They knew where he was going to hit the ball. And so I just think metrics have changed the game so much. And the rebuttal for the metrics now is we'll just hit the ball out. You know what I mean? Like you said, these guys are professional hitters. Dip and lift, as Howard used to say.
Yep.
That's what they've taught guys to do, is dip and lift. And, I don't like it either, man. I've never liked of course, as a pitcher, I like strikeouts. But, watching strikeouts is boring. So I'd much rather see a guy hitting some doubles and some hit and runs and that kind of thing. But all that's out the window. I heard Eduardo Perez say that his dad said that a lot of the reason is they used heavier bats back in the day. And so you just threw your hands at the ball, where now they're using like 32-ounce bats and ripping for it, to get speed. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted your opinion on it. I agree. I don't want to say it's ruined the game, because the game's still fun to watch, but it's taken out maybe a little bit of the beauty of it, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and I'll add this too real quick. I don't care if you put all 9 of your guys on the left field wall if you want to do that defensively. I could not care less where you position guys. If you feel like you can move guys around to get an advantage, and more power to you, man. You can stick them wherever you want. I think sometimes it really hurts people, and it's stupid, and a lot of times when it doesn't work out, it makes you look foolish. But if the teams want to do that, people think that they should ban it. No, well, that's kind of stupid to me. Play your guys wherever you want to, You can stick them all anywhere you want. I don't see the problem in that.
No, me either. I'm fine with it. But, it is hurting a lot of guys' careers. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are good bat-to-ball type hitters that would be starting 10 years ago that are now, 4A infielders or utility guys that would be starting a lot of other places just because they can't hit 25 homers. They just can't do it.
Oh, it ruined Ryan Howard's career. Ryan Howard's out of the game because of the shift. Like, he can't survive that. I mean, that guy's pull hitter, and when you play him that way, he already was not an average guy. When they started shifting on him, he got terrible, really. And unless he's hitting the bomb, he's not very productive.
Yeah. Well, DJ, have we covered all the ground?
I got one more thing for you. I just want you to give me the top 10 all-time guys and wins in this franchise's history. You can name 4 of them, you will win.
Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Dennis Martinez,
Dennis Martinez is one. The other 2 are not on there.
Pascual Perez. I'm just throwing that out there for funsies. Let's see here. Max Scherzer now. He's got to be up there, right?
Max is on there.
Yep. Steven Strasburg is definitely going to be up there.
Number 2.
Let me think here. Calvin Schiraldi. I don't know. I just made that up. Let me think here. Am I missing any like big names?
Not really.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of stumped. Give me some hints.
So the one guy that you're missing that you probably should get was a big part of the rotation like 4 or 5 years ago. He was one of their top pitchers. Lefty. Lefty. Yeah, lefty. Spanish guy.
I'm just blanking, man. Is he still in the league?
Yeah, I think he's hanging on by a tooth. He was with the White Sox not too long ago.
Oliver Perez.
Nope.
I don't know.
So it's Gio Gonzalez.
Yeah. Gio's still pitching?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually like Gio. I think he's a little underrated, maybe.
Yeah, he's bouncing around a lot here recently, though. Brewers, White Sox, all over the place.
He was good with the Yankees for a minute, and he was good with the Brewers there for a minute, too. He got hurt.
So Steve Rogers is a franchise leader in wins. That's crazy. Steve Rogers.
I don't know who I think that's Dave Rogers' brother.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Strasburg and Martinez, and we got Gio, we got Brent Smith, Max Scherzer, Bill Gullickson, Livan Hernandez, Jordan Zimmerman, and Steve Renko.
Dude, how good was Livan Hernandez for a minute? I meant to bring that up one day and forgot.
Yeah.
Livan Hernandez, he was stout. And I'm going to be honest, man, one of my favorite Yankees ever is old Orlando Hernandez, which I believe was either his brother or cousin. I used to love to watch El Duque pitch, man. I love those Cuban guys. They come with so much emotion. I remember being so pumped when they signed Jose Contreras, which turned out to be a bomb. But anyway, Livan Hernandez for a minute, he was a horse. I mean, an absolute workhorse.
Well, he was one of the main pitchers on that World Series team for the Marlins, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome pitcher.
Well, good deal, man. All right. So who we got next?
Well, we've got 3 teams left. We got the Royals, the Rangers, and I believe
the Twins.
The Twins, yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Brad Guffey, where are you, buddy?
Brad Guffey won't respond to me, man. I don't think he wants to be on the show. Kind of bummed.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed too. We need you, man.
Get this for the Royals. That would be a blast.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, well, that closes the book on the Nationals, and we'll get together, hopefully try to finish all this out this week, and then we'll just get back to weekly updates and maybe some trivia and some other stuff. So hope you guys keep tuning in. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
All right, we'll see you guys.